like you said, I've been in the ecosystem for quite a while now, and I've learned a lot, and I'd love to share as much as I can with folks. Just a little bit about me. My name is Marc Lester. I'm in Jacksonville, Florida. I've been in the ecosystem for over 12 years now. I'm currently a Senior Salesforce Consultant at Coastal Cloud, which is a implementation partner for Salesforce. And I've been the group leader down here for the Jacksonville admin group since 2017. So about a little over 5 years now, I've been leading the group down here in Jacksonville, similar to what you and Kevin are doing up there in Ottawa. We started I mentioned it briefly before everyone joined, but for majority of folks joined, but there's a Florida Dreaming Conference, and I'll talk a little bit more about that actually during my presentation. We started that back in 2018. And we had it in 2018-19, skipped obviously 20, but we did do like a limited edition of it last year at the end of the year, and then we're actually having our fourth one actually happening next week. So excited about that. Super busy finalizing the planning for that, and just additionally, I'm a platform which used to be Lightning Activation Champion alum. It's no longer in existence since the majority of companies have transitioned to Lightning. They were taking advantage of some of us folks that have been using Lightning for several years. I think the first time I touched it was when it was first introduced back in 2015. So lots of experience using Lightning. So I wanted to kind of share that with folks that needed that as well. So it's part of that program. And just a little bit about me, just a fun fact about me during my childhood. I lived in both Albany, New York and Albany, Georgia. I was actually born in the Albany, New York area, lived the first few years of my life, and then 1 year in, I think it was 6th grade in Albany, Georgia. And I think I'm pronouncing one of them incorrectly. I don't know enough about, I still have family in the Albany, New York area, but not in the Albany, Georgia. But I think one of them's pronounced differently than the other, but just interesting fact about myself. And then this is the agenda that I'm going to be speaking to. I'm going to be kind of talking about 3 different areas. And throughout this presentation, I'm going to be providing and showing a lot of different links to resources. And you're going to share this deck afterwards. You can get access to all the links that I'll be presenting to you and showing to you. But I'm going to break it down into 3 main areas. One is getting certified, which Josh just did recently, and Darren's working on. Hopefully, going to get that tomorrow. And then talk about networking, which is super, super important to really getting into the Salesforce ecosystem, and then just gaining experience. And again, I'm going to be sharing, not just speaking about any of these topics, I'll be actually sharing resources and links to resources that you can take advantage of yourself if you're looking to kind of continue or start your Salesforce career, or to continue it, in a different area that you might be in currently, help you kind of grow in your career as well. So, okay. So why I decided to focus on this topic. So, as I've been leading the group and doing the Florida Dreaming since 2017, 2018. And then really folks, ever since I've been in a leadership role here in the Florida area, a lot of folks, reached out to me to kind of ask about this type of stuff. Like, hey, Mark, what do I need to focus on to get certified? Hey, Mark, what do I need to do to get my first job in the ecosystem? How do I break in? But it really amplified, right? It's starting in 2020. More people than ever were starting to ask me those questions, and I was answering them one off as much as I could. But I eventually decided last year in the spring to put this presentation together, and I presented it to my local group here in Jacksonville, and really felt like this is a topic that a lot of people outside of our group could take advantage of. So I made it available for other leaders throughout the world, really, that wanted to hear about this topic. So appreciate you finding this presentation and reaching out to me. Definitely something I think a lot of folks can learn from for sure. So, okay. All right. So the first thing is, again, thinking about getting certified. What you want to do is definitely focus on, if you're new to the Salesforce ecosystem or trying to figure out your path, I would definitely recommend focusing on the admin certification. I've created what's called a trail mix. If you're not familiar with it, you can create it yourself. Anybody can, but I created one because, again, I had a lot of people asking me, hey, Mark, where should I start on Trailhead? So I created this, and you can get to it as well and take advantage of it. It's logging me in. Okay. So here, I just kind of put together a few modules that'll kind of help you get familiar with Salesforce in general, with Trailhead in general, and communities and that type of thing. So a couple of things about Trailhead in the community, making sure you got your Trailhead playground all set up and how to manage that. The groups themselves, the user basics, Salesforce user basics, Lightning experience features, Lightning experience productivity. Again, these two kind of go in conjunction with each other. Accounts and contacts, where a lot of Salesforce starts. Campaigns, just kind of general about the campaigns. Chatter, which is something that folks I don't think take advantage of enough, but and who knows if that'll be transitioning to Slack in the future as well. And then just some mobile app basics as well. Just again, this just gets you started, something to kind of take a look at and learn about if you're just needed to kind of figure out, well, where should I start, Mark? This is a good place to kind of start. Make sure you kind of complete these, and then you kind of go from there. And then there's other resources as well. So if I go back to here, the one thing I would recommend, once you do get started and you get a few modules under your belt, to really start focusing on projects and super badges, because those are going to give you the opportunity. There are some modules that ask you to log in and take a couple steps to complete an action and click a button to say you did it. But in most of those just general modules, it's you can just scroll up and say, oh, let me do step one. Okay, go to my org and do step one. Okay, go to the org and do step two. And you did it because it gives you step by step. But these projects and super badgers are more, try to give you more real life experience. So they're more generalized. So you have to really think through strategically, how do I solve for this project, or how do I complete the project for the super badge? So it really makes you think about what the right solutions are, and you come up with them yourself for the most part. It does give you some hints and information, but it doesn't give you a step-by-step like when you're going through a module in general. So definitely recommend focusing on these projects and these super badges. I'm just kind of give you a quick peek at these projects if you go to it. Looks like there's currently 130 of them in here. But you can also break them down by level. If you're like, I'm at a beginner or intermediate, whatever level you want to do. If you're looking at a particular product, you can look at that as well. Service Cloud, Commerce, Einstein, whatever that might be. And then also by role. If you're looking for admin, business analyst, or if you're just a business user, you can even have some in there as well. So just kind of know that you can look at these and break them down to ones that make the most sense to you, that you want to kind of learn from the most. Same things for the super badges. These are kind of take those projects. There's these super badges, and then there's also super admin sets or something like that. Supersets, here they are. So that kind of take these super badges and combine them all together for you could do like 3 different super badges to get a super admin superset. And then some of the other ones, app builder superset, and then I think there's a few others. So definitely recommend doing those, because those are going to give you as close to real life experience that you can potentially get through Trailhead without actually doing the work for a company. So just want to bring those up. And then additionally, we've had a couple folks mention it here. You want to make sure you get the Ranger status, and when you get the Ranger status, brag about it on social media. I can't emphasize that enough to make sure, and we'll talk about it a little bit more later. We talk about networking, but get out there on social media, take advantage of folks that are out there paying attention, whether it's LinkedIn or Twitter or both, if you have time and want to focus on either, but pick one at least and focus on that if you want to get your name out there. So get there and brag about it. So again, I would say complete modules, projects, super badges, and trails that are specific to admin certification, because you'll learn so much, going towards that, and that will help you kind of figure out the focus you might want to go to later on after you get that admin cert, what area you want to focus on. But I got a couple resources here. Build your admin career on Salesforce. This kind of talks through this as different. This is a trail mix that Trailhead created, and it kind of has the different modules. It has videos, it has actual Trailhead modules, it's got links for blogs that you can read. It's just got a different mix, so you could kind of do some different things in here to complete this, just to kind of get an idea of what you want in here. And this one is 37 hours, so that's a good one to complete to really kind of help you build your career as an admin. And then additionally, the admin certification, when you're ready to take that, this link kind of gives you a lot of information about the exam itself. You can get the exam guide right here, and then it gives you these 3 modules in addition to the other one that I linked in there. And as you complete them, they'll probably help you complete these, but you can kind of see in here, it helps you prepare for the admin credentials. This is studying for the certificate. When you're ready to actually study, you can use this, the actual study for the certification. So a lot of helpful information in here. And again, this is a 68-hour one, so take your time doing that. So just kind of know those are out there. Good resources to have in a reference. So, and then the last thing I wanted to mention on here, and for these, is focusing on the admin cert. On my previous, this is the 3rd time I've done this presentation. The other 2 were done last year before either one of these 2 new certifications were announced. But there's now a business analyst certification and a Salesforce associate certification. So at this point of the presentation, I would usually say, focus on the admin cert, get your admin cert, and don't focus on anything else. But now, especially with the Salesforce associate, that's really kind of a precursor to the admin cert. So as you're working towards the admin cert, you should at a minimum be able to also pass and take the Salesforce associate exam. But you also, depending on your experience and what you're studying, you could potentially work towards and take the business analyst as well as you make your way towards the admin certification. So this is just a quick link that kind of tells you about the different roles that you have, certification credentials that are available once you get the admin cert. We'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute. But this is the new Salesforce associate exam right here that I mentioned, and it's basically created for somebody who it says right here, so you can have up to like six months of experience. So it's somebody that's been on Trailhead, reached Ranger, but doesn't necessarily have a lot of experience. You should be able to take and pass this exam. A lot of people just focus on the admin cert, which is tougher to take. Everyone will tell you. I think I failed it one time before I passed it myself, but it's a tougher exam to pass. But the Salesforce associate is something that most folks, that at least if you've done your studying on Trailhead, should be able to obtain. So, okay. Some additional resources here. I would definitely recommend attending a certification days webinar. It's usually, I think, like a 4-hour webinar that they have here. And then certification days. It's usually like a free half-a-day webinar. You'll learn a lot of cool stuff, especially as you get close to taking your certification. And then additionally, they usually give you a discount off of an exam for $140 discount off a $200 exam. So you want to make sure you do that so you can kind of get that discount for your exam as well. So, okay. And then additionally, this is just kind of some different information that kind of helps you understand the purpose and the value of certification days. This is an article by a blogger called Salesforce Spin. For those that are on this call, if you don't subscribe to Salesforce Spin, you'll see throughout my presentation, I've linked probably about 10 of them in here, 10 articles. But Salesforce Spin, I think, is one of the best out there that gives you little snippets of information that are very, very valuable to so many people across the ecosystem. So definitely recommend you subscribing to Salesforce Spin. But this one here is one that just kind of talks about the Salesforce certification days and how you can do it, how it's outlined, what you'll be working through, and then the value in it. So just kind of give you some general information. So, okay. And then so the other thing I would recommend doing as you're preparing for your certification is join some of the success community chatter groups. And again, would recommend don't just sign up for them and get your weekly digest every Saturday night along with the other 50 ones you join. Make sure you're active in them and make sure you get your notifications on a regular basis. I recommend at a minimum daily digest as you're working towards your certification, if not every post, depending on how many times people post there, daily digest might be sufficient. But you can always change that later. Just keep that in mind, just because you change this like any other subscription. If you change it to every post or daily digest, you can just, once you get your cert, you don't necessarily need to keep getting notified about that. You can always change it at that point for this one and any other one. So this is the Trailhead Academy. which is a great resource as you're studying for your exam, to kind of, gain some information, connect with folks. They give you some different resources in here to help you get certified. So, keep that in mind. And additionally, this other one here is, again, about the certification days. This is a success community group. It kind of keeps you informed about it. You can ask questions as you've gone through yours, and you can kind of get some answers in here as well. So, okay. And then this other one here is, again, if you study better in a study group, you can join this Admin 201 study group. And there's either current groups that you can join that are in here, or you can start your own study group with a few other folks that are in the same part, same status of where you're at when you're with your studying. So, make sure you take advantage of that. If study groups kind of help motivate you or keep you focused or help you learn, definitely join this and take advantage. And again, you want to change this weekly post to either every post or daily digest during the time period that you're studying up for the exam. After you take it again, you can change it back to weekly like I've done here. I still like to get updates on them, but I don't need them every day from that perspective. So, okay. So I talked about that. And then I would also recommend posting in your local success community group about any potential local study groups, because there might be one in your area that you can meet up with in person instead of doing the virtual one. Again, if that helps you kind of learn better as a group as well. So just keep that in mind as we talk about that during the networking piece of this. So, okay.
Mark, can I just cut in?
Yeah, absolutely. Go for it, Kevin. Mm-hmm.
So the focus, Salesforce Ben, do they have these practice exams too?
I think Salesforce Ben, you're asking me if Salesforce Ben has practice exams?
They do.
They just started doing that, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
I can send the link over on Chatter.
No, I just was curious because I was going to say, and I noticed on your slide, you have focus on force, which they're absolutely right. They are a great practice exam. And the last time I talked to the Salesforce Ben, they were in the midst of getting their exam. So I don't know where they're at with regards to that.
Yeah, I think that Darren's correct. I think I did see something within the last month or two, maybe even that said they're starting to offer those now. So I haven't added that onto here yet, but yeah, there's a lot of resources. Focus on force, like you said, has great practice exams and is other studying materials as well. But if you see people posting about passing the admin exam, they thank one or both of these people. Focus on Force, Martin Gesner, or Mike Wheeler. So both of those resources are great for studying. And then Focus on Force has really good practice exams. The one caveat that seems to be a bit tricky at this point is questions that talk about automation. So is the answer always flow, or is the answer still maybe in the old, has that not been updated yet? Is it still process builder or workflow rules? So that's one part that's a little bit tricky right now with taking exams. So just kind of be careful with that. I've mentioned a couple of different flashcard apps that are on here. I think these are good for just knowing the format of the questions that are on the exam. Sometimes lots of folks have noticed the answers aren't necessarily 100% accurate on those, but you can certainly use them just to kind of get a feel for how the questions will be worded, and how the answers and questions will be worded, and you can kind of figure out from there to make sure you got the right answer. Trailhead does have a practice exam here as well. So they just started doing this. You can go take this admin administrator practice exam, and it kind of has some questions. Get 30 questions here, and you can look at it and see how you did. And I didn't put it on here either, but Web Assessor, you can go directly to Web Assessor and sign up for a practice exam. That costs $20 to do it that way. But again, it's very much so gives you a great feel for the type of questions they're going to ask and what the correct answers would be if you were taking those. So, and like Kevin just mentioned, again, I think Salesforce Ben and Darren, if you could share that, that'd be awesome. But did you do that? Is that what shared in here? Oh, perfect. Look at that. Hot off the press, huh? 60 question exams. Okay, cool. Yeah, so good. Thanks for sharing that, Darren. Appreciate that. So yeah, so that we'll make sure that's shared with everybody as well. So a lot of great resources that you can take advantage of to prepare to make sure you're ready to pay the money and get that exam. So take advantage. Okay. And then just kind of going back to the order of certifications again, I always recommend focusing on the admin cert because you just get the proper foundation. For any other certifications, including a developer cert. So, even if you want to go in the more code heavy developer route, I would still recommend getting the admin cert first, just so you get that foundation before you go in and focus on the developer side of it. So, and as I mentioned before, definitely would also recommend at a minimum, as you work towards the admin cert, to also get that Salesforce associate certification along the way, and potentially a business analyst one as well. Sorry. So. And then once you get your admin cert, really it's up to you at that point. Find your passion and work towards it. Right in today's world of Salesforce, it's totally not possible. Well, I shouldn't say that, but it's not. You're more likely to be successful in the Salesforce ecosystem if you identify a specific focus of areas of your interest and advance your learnings in that area in your career in that area. So what I'm speaking to, here's a little bit about some link to some different career paths in Salesforce. So this just kind of gives you the whole lots of jobs available. Go and get them. But down here it says which career are you interested in? So you can kind of drill down into each one of these, whether it's a sales career, marketing, admin, consultant down here, or Salesforce designer. So these are just kind of some general ones. There's even more granular like CPQ that you want to focus on, or if you want to focus on an industry like health industry or nonprofit or whatever it might be, pick that area of focus and really learn out beyond once you get that admin certification. So these are some great resources here for that. So okay. And then different roles and related certifications. I put a link to that page on here. So you can kind of see these are the different certifications depending on right here is the admin. And these are some different ones. Like I mentioned, CPQ, business analyst, marketing cloud or platform app builder. But say you're interested in the marketer side of it, this kind of tells you different marketing credentials, whether it's marketing cloud or they still call it Pardot on here. So marketing cloud or Pardot, whatever one you might be interested in, that kind of thing. So just kind of come out here and check it out. And especially, once you've gotten the admin and see what other area you might be interested in and what certifications might make sense for you to do. Because even again, from a marketing perspective, Pardot or marketing cloud, one or the other might be more interesting to you, whether you're more of a business to business or business to customer individual person. So, okay. Okay. And don't forget about MuleSoft, Slack, or Tableau certification. So if you're an analytics geek, you can check out Tableau. If you're really cool with integration, check out MuleSoft. And if you're a communicator, check out Slack. So, and these are, I think, at the bottom of this page. Yeah. So if you want to find out more about those, you can learn more on this link here. It brings you to MuleSoft, Slack, or Tableau certifications as well. So that if that's the route you want to take, feel free to kind of check those certifications out as well. So, okay. All right. So the next topic I want to talk about is networking. This is 100% key to being successful. What I've found from myself and for other individuals that I've tried to help get into the Salesforce ecosystem or change paths once they're in the ecosystem. First thing I would say, you've started in the right path. You joined this user group here up there in Ottawa or wherever you might be, but definitely wherever you're at, find the local groups, especially those that are active, and join those groups. And these are the different groups that are supported by Salesforce. There's other unofficial ones. The one there's actually one on the list at the very bottom, Salesforce Saturday. That one is not technically directly supported by Salesforce. It's more of a grassroots, but there's a lot of those groups throughout the world that meet and take advantage of that. But going back to what I mentioned, definitely want to, in your local area, join your admin and or user group, depending on which one is available. It's split up a little bit now. So there might be one of each or just one of the other. So make sure you join that. And then again, from there, depending on what your interest is, you can join any of these other ones when you want to work your way up to an architect, go to the developer route, nonprofit, marketer, whatever it might be. You can kind of join those groups and get connected. And a lot of times, down the road, potentially at least, folks will meet, either virtually like this or in person as well. So you can get to know folks in person in your local area. Okay. And just to kind of talk about the different groups, because sometimes people, when I talk to them about it, I tell them, oh, you need to join a couple different groups if you want to get connected and stay connected to your local community. The first one is the success community chat. That's the chatter groups that are out there. Definitely join this group in your local area, as many as you want, really. You can join multiple. So you can stay up to date on communications amongst the group. We use it a lot. Obviously, I post about upcoming events. People post about local job openings that are available. We have folks post about when they get their certification and everything in between. We try to help each other out and support each other as much as we can. So take advantage, get active in those, and do that. And then additionally, there's the Trailblazer Community Event Group. You can find out all about events coming up that are happening in your area. And again, I mentioned the Salesforce Saturdays events not found here. Those are normally done either via Eventbrite or Meetup if there is one in your area. Just kind of look for that. So, and then some groups have Twitter accounts because a lot of folks, they find out about things on social media versus through either one of these two. If you're connected on the event group, you should get emails when new events are published at least. So keep an eye open for those if you are subscribed to any of the event groups that are out there. But if not, again, some folks have Twitter accounts, and we have one for our Jacksonville group. Not all groups have them, but we found, at least down here in Jacksonville, a lot of folks find out about stuff via Twitter, and they can share as well. So other folks can find out that might not know as well. And then don't forget, and again, if you're interested in Tableau, MuleSoft, or Slack, there's meetups for those as well, depending on what area you're in also. So just to give you a quick sneak peek of the first two, just so you kind of understand the difference. So these are the Trailblazer community groups. I refer to them as success community groups. That's what they used to be called. That's what I call them, just to kind of help, because they're both, this one and the other one are worded the same now. So it's very confusing. So I always still try to reference this as being our success community groups. And there's some featured groups here, but then you can also look at it by region. So if you wanted to look at Canada, you can just look at all the ones that are in Canada. I'm thinking that's really, you can't drill down any more than that, but you can kind of drill down in here and kind of see the different ones that are in Canada that you might be interested in joining as well. So just keep that in mind. You can do it by product role, just like I showed you earlier. So this is what I just called the success community groups. And then there's the events groups, which is on this page, a little bit different looking. So usually when you log straight in, it automatically searches and finds, it knows where you're at, hopefully, if you told it, and it tells you. So we're having a networking event in Jacksonville on November 9th. We're also doing a joint holiday social across all of our groups in December as well. So we're all have an event out here, so people know within our groups to come together in December, but it'll bring those up so you know what's close to you coming up. But you can also drill down, either search or go down here and find other groups in your area. So if I scroll down to Ottawa real quick, this one you can go more than just the overall country. So here you can see you guys have in addition to the user group here, there's also a developer group, nonprofit group, and a women in tech group. I don't know how active those groups are, you or not. But there are those groups out there, and if they're not active, contact the leader and say, hey, can we get this group active? Love to kind of learn more in this space, that kind of thing. So, okay.
Just to add to that, can you go back to that slide?
Yeah, absolutely. Mm-hmm.
So you led us to a really important thing. So if you're interested in participating in any of the groups, or they're always looking for members, but they're also looking for people that are willing to take the group and run with and set up meetings. Because I know, for example, the developer, the nonprofit, those groups, they don't meet frequently enough because there's a few people that are involved with it, and get busy with their work life and their home life and just don't have bandwidth. So if you are interested, the point is you can reach out to the leaders of those groups and and you can see if you can help them get it going into monthly meetings or bi-monthly meetings or whatever. Anyways, thank you very much for pointing that out.
Yeah, absolutely, Kevin, for sure. So, and again, if you are interested, just to make it clear, if you're like, okay, I can help out with a nonprofit group, you can just click into here, and then you scroll to the bottom, and there's a button that says contact us. You can try to search up and find Nick directly. He's double leading, all right. But you could just click this contact us, and Nick should get a communication, get an email, and just let him know, hey, I'd love to help out. Where can I help out, in your group kind of thing, help lead the group. And then there's a whole process in place. If you are interested, again, just to kind of let you know, Salesforce does a great job at trying to support us as much as we can as leaders. So they have an onboarding process. So if you are on board and Nick says, yes, I can really use your help. Thank you for offering. He would submit something, you would submit something, the Salesforce team would review it, approve it, and then you would go through an entire onboarding process to kind of learn all the different tools and resources you have available. I'm sure Nick would help support you as well. And so just kind of don't be afraid to reach out. We are always, like Kevin said, looking for folks to get these active. And I think more so than not, after the last 2 years, a lot of the groups have gone dormant and just gotten caught up in other parts of their life and not able to necessarily focus back on these. So keep that in mind for sure. So, okay. All right. And then just the type of meetings that are available. Again, like I mentioned, we're doing this virtual event that allows a lot of folks from different places to join if they wanted to, like myself from Jacksonville, without having to travel up to Ottawa. And there's also in person. We started to get back to that a couple of months ago, and we'll probably be focusing back on in person because I feel like at least locally here, that's where we got the most value out of our members did in our groups. So there's learning events that you can have at local customer or partner sites. We just had one last week actually for our group where we met at a local customer site. We talked a little bit about the winter release highlights, just to kind of make sure everybody knew some really cool things they could take advantage of or are required to take advantage of, depending on what type of update it was for that release. And then there's networking events you can have at a local pub or bar or restaurant. I do those quite often because those are the easiest to plan for. Just everyone meet up and talk about whatever they want to. It doesn't have to be anything formal. There's also global gatherings after a major event like Dreamforce, Trailhead DX, and a couple other ones where they might offer resources to us as leaders to talk some talking points to kind of make sure everybody that wasn't able to attend those events can get together locally and learn about the main topics that were discussed at those larger events. And then there's volunteer events. I try to do one per quarter in our area where we all get together and volunteer at different areas throughout our local community. So those are great as well. And then the last thing is there's virtual or in-person watch parties that just introduced over the last couple of years. So those are kind of fun too. So if you can't go to Dreamforce or Trailhead DX, you can get together locally and watch the keynote or whatever session you might think would be the most interesting for your group and discuss it amongst you before or after the session. So, okay.
So I'm going to cut in again, yeah. Mark, is that okay?
Sure, absolutely. Go for it, Kevin. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So in person, we want to start going back into in-person monthly meetings. And our biggest challenge right now is trying to get people's company boardrooms that will sponsor us and let us use their boardroom for a 2-hour meeting. So if you're on this call and you work for a company that you think that they would allow you to use their facilities, please get a hold of us because we're definitely interested in getting back to in-person meetings first. And we will continue to do the virtual meetings like a what do you call it, a hybrid, both of them, because people are saying, you know what, we do want to, we can't attend at this time, but we'll listen to the recordings afterwards. So we've decided as a group that we will do both in person and virtual at the same time. Anyways, that's all I have to say.
Okay. Yeah, absolutely. Yes. Yeah, thanks for bringing that up. Yeah, that was definitely has been a large challenge for me as well here, even in the state of Florida, where things have always been as open as anybody can make them open, but it's still a bit of a challenge for companies to open up for folks that don't work at the company. Whether it's, people aren't going back to work, they're staying remote, or they're back to work, but they're limited, right? Kind of thing. So definitely, help your leaders out if you have a space. So, okay. And then also make sure you're join and get active in social media. Twitter really is where the Trailblazer community lives and breathes. So if you really want to if you have the passion to be a part of the community, I would definitely recommend joining and being active in Twitter. There's all kinds of resources shared, and you can make all kinds of cool connections through Twitter that could help you advance your career. I listed a few here, accounts that I would recommend following. Some of them are directly Salesforce related and some other just kind of general ones. And then Salesforce Ben, again, offers this Twitter starter path, what and who to follow. I think it's a year or two old now. It's a couple of years old, but I think it's still pretty valid. Most of these people, if not all of them, are still out there on social media. So here's the who to follow. And some of them are the same as me, but most of them are quite different. So you can take a look at that, follow these people. And if you're saying to yourself, Mark, what do you mean? I'm not a posting person, and neither am I for the most part. But you can be active by just getting out there and seeing what people are other posting, react to them as much as you can. And then, at some point, I'm sure it'll just kind of be organic, I guess I would say. Don't feel like you got to get out there. Oh, I got to be gangbusters and do this and the other. Just be active, reacting and posting about your accomplishments, whether it's getting certified or completing a module. And it completes a module and it does the celebration, and you got a link right there. Just click the button, the Twitter link, and say post to Twitter. Boom, it's as easy as that. Or you can customize it, which I would still recommend as well, so it's not the same boring text, but that's fine too. People know you're out there working and learning. So and then from a LinkedIn perspective, it's not quite as Trailblazer community focused, but more if you're looking for a job, this is a really great place to go to in LinkedIn. And I'll give you a couple other links later on the slide for LinkedIn. But just make sure if you start to get active in LinkedIn, that you update your profile as much as possible. I recommend including your super badges and your Trailhead rank in addition to any certifications you have. I think those are what folks are looking for, recruiters, when they're looking for folks. They look to see maybe what rank you're in in addition to certifications. And again, just like and share posts. The one group or person I would recommend you follow that I see people have success working with is Talent Stacker, and Bradley Rice leads the Talent Stacker group. So he's post stuff individually, but I would recommend following those two. And again, it would just happen organically. And here's another one, 12 Salesforce influencers, 20, I'm sorry, to follow. And this is the more recent one. So I wanted to kind of go ahead and include this, but this is 20 influencers to follow. These are great people that you would want to follow. Salesforce Ben is even on here, as well as several other cool folks in here. And there's Bradley I mentioned earlier. So a lot of cool folks that are in here that you can follow. Steve Moe is a very popular one, Stacy. So definitely take a look at that and follow them, whether they're active on Twitter or LinkedIn, whichever one that might be. So okay. And then this one here, I would recommend joining different community conferences and Salesforce events. If you're not familiar with the terminology, the community conferences, which is over here on the left, these are all conferences put together by people like me. I just volunteer my time to help plan for and put on the Florida Dream In conference. So these are all volunteer driven. These are not Salesforce supported and organized events. They're just us. These ones on the right, Salesforce events, these are ones that Salesforce 100% owns and organizes and puts on. But I would recommend attending both of them if you have the opportunity to do so, because again, these are great resources to learn and to network from. I think I mentioned earlier, there's one up there in Canada called True North Dreaming. I would at least, if you're interested in attending something like this, make sure you subscribe to it so you can kind of get notifications as this comes around. I'm not sure. I don't think they have one planned right now, but make sure you fill out this contact us form so when they do, have a date, maybe next year, hopefully that they have this again, that you'll be one of the first to find out about it. And I think they switch back and forth where they're having it on the West Coast or East Coast. So hopefully it'll be near you, either one year or the next, or if you want to travel, you can do that as well. So that's one that's probably the most realistic for you guys up there. And then I put, that's Florida Dreaming. That's the conference that I'm helping to put on next week. It's happening in Orlando, Florida. And there's just a couple other ones that are very popular. The Nonprofit Dreaming, which is really cool, and Witness Success for women in tech, right? So that's a really cool one as well. And I've just included a link here of the schedule of community conferences. So that way you can get a feel beyond that few lists that I provided there. Here's the upcoming ones here. There's one happening in Morocco next week, as well as the one that we're having in Orlando. And here's the other ones coming up in the very near future. And then you can also scroll down and see the ones that's happened in the very, just recently. There's the Mile High Dreaming in Denver, one in Pakistan, Lake Tahoe, Montana, Minneapolis. So those are some different ones that's happened recently and coming up. So, and then there's one last thing down here from Salesforce Ben. So this kind of gives you even more overall list of all the 2022 events that either happened or will be happening in the near future. So this includes both conferences and Salesforce events. So just kind of take a look at that and again, get a feel for all the different events you could potentially go to, and pick some that you might be able to attend and check those out. So again, those are for the Salesforce events and community conferences. So the Dreamforce events, if you're not familiar, that happened last month. That's their biggest event. And then they also have one that's constantly growing, which is Trailhead. No, it's not called Trailhead DX anymore. It is called Trailhead DX. No, it's called Trailblazer DX now. I didn't update my slide. It's now called Trailblazer DX, Connections, World Tour, and Campfires. So, okay. And then here's some articles that you can take a look at that kind of help you. I'll kind of skip through these because I'm probably a little bit over on my time here, but so this is some good sources to kind of just help you understand the value that you can get out of being active in the Trailblazer community. So just keep an eye on that. And then last but not least is gaining experience. This is by far the toughest aspect of folks that want to break into the Salesforce ecosystem. And the question I get more than anything is, Mark, how do I get the experience that these stinking postings are saying they require 2 to 3 years? How are you supposed to get 2 or 3 years when you don't have 2 or 3 years? So this kind of helps you know about several programs that are geared towards folks that don't necessarily have the experience, that have spent the time to get certified, but don't necessarily have the experience. So these are some great resources. But before I get too far into that, step one to gaining experience is networking. More times than not, from after you get your certification, if you network, whether it's out there in the virtual social world or locally, I find more people get jobs because they connect with folks and they make it known that I'm looking for a job and I can do whatever job you have that's available. So, okay, make sure you're out there networking. But that said, here are some tangible resources that you could take advantage of. These are some Salesforce provided ones or coordinated resources. The Trailblazer Connect is the most common one that folks go to. It's got a lot of great resources in here that connects both those people that are looking for employment as well as folks that are hiring. So here you can kind of see job seekers. You can click into here and get all kinds of cool data on what I can do, and it's kind of connect you with some different, again, videos, blogs, and modules to learn about it. And then there's this place for us as partners and then employers as well. So there is some great resources in here. And then there were some other, maybe it's another slide, but there is I don't think I put a link in there, but there is a career fair that's coming up. I want to say it's either November or December. But I would definitely recommend, if you're looking to I thought that was on here somewhere, but I didn't see an easy link to it. But it was actually in here. I apologize. I just didn't look. That's right. So if you look into here, it kind of gives you a bunch of different cool things. And one of them is the mentorship program is a cool one. But it also talks about find a career fair. Here it is. So here you can kind of look for the career fairs, and I believe there is one upcoming, US and Canada right here, November 3rd. So you have to apply for it so they know where you're at, whether you're somebody looking or somebody trying to look for a position or trying to hire for a position. And they kind of match you up with some folks that can kind of help you out, whether you're looking for resume building assistance, interviewing assistance, whatever it might be. You'll get the right resources to help you out. So definitely recommend checking that out. One of the biggest ones that's helpful is called the Salesforce Talent Alliance. This includes Salesforce partners like the company I work for, Coastal Cloud. We're committed to hiring individuals that's new in the ecosystem. Again, if you're certified with less than 6 months, we're committed to considering and hiring a certain level of individuals to be part of this program. So, and it also includes a lot of great resources in general. So if you go to this Salesforce Talent Alliance, and again, are you a job seeker? Yes. So if you go to Job Seeker, you can look at all the cool stuff that's in here, learn about different careers, and all the other stuff. And this kind of talks about how you do it, get to know Salesforce, learn the fundamentals, imagine that, attend the certification days, get certified, and then connect with employers. So this is a great resource. And these are all the different programs that is supported under this Talent Alliance. So you could drill into each one of these individually and learn more about them to figure out if you're eligible to participate in them and what level of support they provide, whether it's training, whether it's, resume building or whatever it might be, or kind of find a job specifically. So kind of take a look at these and see if there's anything that makes sense to you to get connected with. And then you take advantage of all of those different programs. There's a lot of different ones that are out there. So there's also the Salesforce Essentials Advisors program. I don't hear quite as much about this as I did in the past. But I included some links into here. There's a quick 40-minute to kind of learn about it. But there's also this additional link I included that if you want to become an approved Salesforce Essentials Advisor, you can complete this 16.5 hours worth of stuff. And basically, from what I understand, people that have participated in that program previously is once you're approved as a Salesforce Essentials Advisors, they set you up to help a small business, and you get paid for it. It's a paid program where you basically are supporting a small business that has Salesforce Essentials, which is the limited capability licenses that Salesforce offers. So it doesn't grow tremendously complex when you're trying to support them. So it keeps it contained within whatever parameters that Salesforce Essentials provides to that customer. So it kind of helps you gain some really great experience. So keep an eye out for that. And then one of those links tells you that it's only open for a certain amount of time. So you just want to be familiar with that to make sure, when the opening is to apply to become a Salesforce Essentials Advisor. So, okay. And these are some recommended supported organizations or groups. These are Salesforce focused ones, hiring for heroes. If you have military background, or ladies be architects, these are links again. Here's a couple LinkedIn groups I mentioned. The Salesforce Talent Alliance has a LinkedIn group if you fit that niche. If you're have your certification less than 6 months, you can join that. And then here's some volunteer and mentors. So there's some people that are looking for volunteers or looking to volunteer. That kind of helps match you up with a nonprofit organization you can potentially volunteer with. And then a couple third-party services that are not Salesforce focused, but I hear they also help you with finding experience as well. Okay. Last thing I have is this one additional resource here. Is this book from Martin Gesner. It's called the Salesforce Career Playbook. It has a lot of great resources in it, including real life examples like what's a day like for an individual, whether you're a consultant, admin, developer, whatever it might be. And a lot of people say it's extremely helpful. And if you take a look at pages 328 to 331, you'll find what a day in the life of me is. I was part of this book when they created it. So there's a few pages in there that kind of talks about what my day's like, as a consultant. So you can kind of get an idea of what my days was during that time. So, and then I guess last but not least, and again, sorry for going over, one final resource is, and that's you. Again, these are all kinds of cool links to resources that you can take advantage of, but it's up to you to get out there and learn on Trailhead, get certified, post in your local groups, get out there on social media, be active, join the Trailblazer community events that are happening, or the Salesforce events, and network with like-minded people. Just kind of, one last thing, just kind of own your future. These things are not going to come to you. There's nothing easy in life. And even though there's lots of jobs in the Salesforce ecosystem, you still have to go out there and get that job. So, okay. Any questions that anybody has?